Afternoon and welcome to Second Chance. Second Chance is a weekly talk show that examines a wide range of social issues and seeks to inspire physical, emotional, social, and spiritual healing, believing that God is a God of second chances, and through faith, all things are possible. Second Chance airs live each week from the beautiful campus of Oakwood University and features real people with real issues and offers real answers. And now, here's your host, Kenneth Anderson.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Second Chance radio broadcast. I'm Kenny Anderson. It's always delighted to be here with you in the studio for the Second Chance radio broadcast. There's a lot of stuff happening in the space right now, believe it or not. One of the things that's happening is that this is our very last show of 2024. I want to say Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to all of those who celebrated the Christmas holiday on this past Wednesday and are now looking forward to a New Year's celebration in the coming week. It has indeed been an exciting period of time, and I hope that you all were nice and not naughty this year. And I hope that you've had a wonderful opportunity to spend time with family and friends during this season of giving. And, of course, we know the true reason for the season, and I hope that you've taken some time to reflect on the many blessings that you have experienced over this past year. We, of course, are excited about the lineup that we have for you on this last broadcast of 2024, folks. I tell you, life just moves forward. It has been a year of both ups and downs, highs and lows, positives and negatives, but I'm focusing on, and this is a choice, to focus on the highs and the positives and the victories that I can celebrate over the past year. Yes, there will be challenges that we face, but it has often been said, this too shall pass. Now, you may be listening this afternoon at 90.1 FM, which is, of course, our 33,000-watt radio station, just boosted as a consequence of your investing in our station during our last drive that helped us boost the power of our station so more people are hearing from us than ever before, and we could not be happier here at WJOU 90.1 FM. You may be listening this afternoon on the internet at WJOU.org, which means that you may be anywhere in the world right now. We're very happy that you've taken the time to be with us. We never take that for granted. And then, of course, you might be one of those individuals who is listening on the live stream today. Yes, we're streaming on Praise 90.1 FM at YouTube and Facebook. So you can actually see the action today as we have this wonderful opportunity to share on this broadcast. I will waste no more time because I'll end up spending about an hour or two talking to my first guest today. He's one of my favorite people in the whole wide world. And, of course, every chance I get to tell him that, I try to tell him that. I had a chance to tell him that recently, and we'll talk about that in just a few moments after I introduce him properly. Guitarist and producer Adam Hawley has really become a mainstay on the scene these days in the jazz arena and so much more musically. He's a celebrated and innovative composer, artist, band leader, and more. He was selected by none other than, I'm a name dropper today, Adam, Maurice White, the founder of EWF, The Elements, Earth, Wind, and Fire. He first debuted on the Legends label, Kalimba Music. We've talked about that when he's been on the show in the past. And Adam is just blazing the charts these days. I would not be the one to be accused of bearing the headlines. Congratulations on Billboard #1, number 17 for you. And you, of course, had that big hit called Automatic with Dave Koz that I got a chance to hear lately. I'm just so excited to see my brother Adam Hawley. Adam, how you doing this afternoon?
Oh, I'm doing fantastic. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. Listen, it is good to see you back on the Second Chance platform. You are always welcome, and you're always one of the warmest, most wonderful guests that I have at this most wonderful time of year. So thank you for joining with me on this afternoon.
Oh, it's my distinct pleasure. It's always great talking with you, and it was great seeing you. What was that, about a month ago in
DC,
outside of DC? So
yeah,
glad you got a chance to see the show.
Man, listen, and what Adam is referencing is the Dave Koz and Friends Christmas Tour 2024, folks. If you did not get to see it, then maybe you'll get the 28th version of it next year, because this show has been just blazing a trail for so many years now. This is my first time getting to see it, and it was just fortuitous that I was in D.C. on a Thursday just recently, and as my flight was leaving Huntsville, it was delayed, and I started kind of thumbing through social media. Adam posted, "Hey, DMV, we're looking to see you tonight." And I'm like, wait a minute, I'm going to be there tonight. Let me find out about getting some tickets. Adam, the tour had to be amazing. This, of course, is just a few days after Christmas as the show airs, so you're now officially off tour, even though we know a little something behind the scenes. But how have things gone over the course of this phenomenal experience that you've had touring with these wonderful guests?
Yeah, well, you said it. It's the 27th annual, so that's a mouthful just right there. It's incredible what Dave's built over almost 3 decades, and the alumni of this tour are literally a who's who. So it was a big honor to be selected, and it was an amazing tour. 19 shows all over the U.S. We started off in Atlanta, and then worked down into Florida, then went all the way up the East Coast, then to the Midwest, then to the West Coast. And this year, along with Dave, was also Jonathan Butler, Vincent Ingala, and Rebecca Jade, and myself. And it's so much fun. It's a very collaborative process. We each brought about 4 songs to the table, but then we all appear on each other's songs. And there's several group numbers as well. And man, it was everyone I've told about the tour, I just tell them it was the most stress-free, laid-back, collaborative experience I've been a part of. It was incredible.
You know, Adam, as a consumer again, and I talked to you a little bit about this, I'm just amazed being in an audience watching that, and the chemistry and the synchronization of things and the energy that's brought to the table as far as that's concerned. And what I was in a very beautiful space to experience something like this during the holiday season, it has to be an amazing thing. If it's a secret recipe or secret sauce, don't reveal it, but how does Dave go about selecting the people that perform with him during this time of year?
Oh, that's a great question. And again, he's had everyone from Peter White to Keiko Matsui to Christopher Cross to, we take up the whole interview just naming all of the amazing artists that have done it. But, I've been working with Dave for quite a long time. The first time we connected was in 2011 on one of his cruises. And he's known me now 13 years. And I did put out my first Christmas album a year ago, so that probably didn't hurt as well. And but no, he's been a big supporter of mine since 2011, and so no, it was definitely an honor to be selected. And like I said, it was incredible. And then you already alluded to the song that we just released, Automatic. That also was because of this tour. He called me up and said, "Hey, since we're doing this tour, let's record a new song." So I figured it would be a Christmas selection. And he said, no, let's do something, an original contemporary jazz song that we can play in the show. It'll be released in September to promote the tour, but then it'll be kind of a breath of fresh air, somewhere in the middle to kind of break up the Christmas music. Mm-hmm. So I sent him some different tracks to check out, and we ended up selecting one, and then he came over to my studio in LA, and we finished it up. And it's pretty cool to see that process from beginning to end, and then to have it go #1 during the tour. So couldn't have it, any better.
Yeah, it's got to be on top of the rural experience, I'm sure. And then again, you match that with the time of year it is, where people are reflecting on the journey over the past year, and they're kind of thinking about what's happening, also kind of thinking about looking ahead, what's next. And I know you, of course, in terms of touring, you've got a stack of stuff coming up again next year. We'll talk a little bit about that later, but I want to ask you one other question about just the Dave Koz and Friends Christmas tour, because here I am again in this audience that is just engaged with everything, and we're kind of like sitting on the edge of our seat, and you guys are taking us up, and you're kind of chilling us out, and it's just a beautiful, and we're singing along, and it's just a wonderful experience. What is that like for you to be on the stage performing and then experiencing these incredible audiences that you played before?
Yeah, the audiences have been fantastic. They've been, I mean, you said it, they've been engaged, they've, been attentive. It's really been a powerful experience just going from city to city and doing this many shows all, bunched up in a short amount of time. But all the attendance has been fantastic. Every show has been either a sellout or close to a sellout. So, it's been truly a incredible experience, and just amazing support from the fans. It just really encourages you to push into the next year. And as you mentioned, I'm excited. I've already got about 30 dates scheduled, and more coming in for 2025. So I'm already ahead of schedule compared to where I was going into 2024. So that's exciting as well. And it's great to have this momentum.
This is that time of year again where I, as a mental health professional by trade, I kind of think about the mental health of people, and I think about emotions, and I think about family bonds that have perhaps been challenged in different ways. Sometimes it's death, sometimes it's some kind of a disagreement or unstable situation that somebody might have. People are deployed, people are in transition. Just a lot of stuff happening this year. It is a great time of year, but sometimes for people who are experiencing difficult things, it can be a challenging time of year. And I always think that Christmas music in and of itself has the qualities of becoming a part of our lives in very powerful and positive ways that can uplift and inspire and transcend. And I just wonder, from your perspective, about your thoughts about the music of the Christmas season and how you interpret that and how that is represented in not just what you do as a performer, but just in terms of life in general.
Yeah, you're exactly right. There's so many feelings that come with these songs. They've been around for, a long time. And they can bring back memories, especially childhood memories, family memories. And so I really took my time making my project. I started on it maybe 6-7 years ago, and then finally it took that long to kind of wrap my head around, how do I do these songs justice, but at the same time do something fresh and something original. At first I thought, could I do some brand new original compositions? But being an instrumentalist, then I was thinking, well, how would people even know it's a Christmas song? Because there's no lyrics, right? Being a guitar player. So I thought, no, let me take existing songs, but put my spin on them. And it was an amazing process. I probably, had a list of 40, 50 tunes, whittled it down to 10. And I'm really proud of the project. And we're doing a couple of them. We did a couple of them in this tour, but yeah, it's I think it's the same for the audience as it is for me. You think of the first one that comes to mind is the Christmas song, Nat King Cole, Chestnuts. That just sounds like Christmas and makes you think about sitting by the fire and and as a kid opening presents. Now my son is 16, his excitement on the Christmas morning. So these songs are really they're part of all of our lives, in a big way.
Yeah. Christmas was always one of my favorite times of the year. It was a very special time. Growing up on the Lower East Side of Manhattan in public housing, my parents were there, my 3 sisters were there. We always came together around an incredible meal. And my mom was a great cook, but she kind of really put her foot in the pot, like people used to say back in the day, around Christmas time. Wow. And it's like, you couldn't wait to get to the table, but you also couldn't wait to get away from the table.
Wow.
And when you got away from the table, for us, it meant that we were going to now start opening up Christmas gifts. We're going to probably sing some music and things of that nature. What was Christmas like for you growing up?
Yeah, well, I'm originally from Oregon, so it was always cold. Very rare that we had a white Christmas. We get a lot of rain up there. But no, it was great memories. We'd always have, again, it was usually pretty chilly. So we'd have a fire and And I always remember running downstairs, couldn't wait to, see what was under the tree. And, I remember my mom, she would usually cook gumbo,
Mm.
which was always very tasty. And, I also remember it was pretty funny. Color printers were a pretty new thing back then, and so all of a sudden we got a color printer in the home, and then I got a letter from Santa that was printed out and in color, and that kind of tipped me off. I don't know if this Santa is real, all of a sudden that was too much of a coincidence, and I was probably, I don't know, 6 or 7 or something. So that's when the wheels started turning, But no, it was, incredible time. And again, like I mentioned, now to transition out of that, and then to have our own household. My wife and I have our, sophomore in high school. So, it's fun celebrating that with him. And now the shoe is on the other foot. Now we're hosting and we're having family come over. And so it's an incredible experience. You really
Yeah.
can't beat it.
It certainly is. We're talking this afternoon with Adam Hawley. He is a multi award winning and super recognized composer, producer, musician, and so much more. He's a really down to earth guy and a really cool guy. We've given him lots of accolades already today and celebrating all the great success that he's had over the past year and over the course of his time in the music industry. Adam, tell me a little bit about what really makes this work for you. What do you enjoy most about the work that you do?
Yeah, well, I'm, really hands-on and really like having, kind of a finger on the pulse of all of the aspects of the industry, So I'm self-managed. I have my own record label as well. So I really enjoy, obviously, the creative aspects of it, performing, recording, writing, producing. But then, I really enjoy the business aspects of it too, believe it or not. And I credit that to my dad. He owns his own trucking business. So in addition to seeing him going out and hauling heavy equipment, he also would do the books every night, So I grew up watching him do that, and he was doing it by hand, but now I do it all on the computer, of course. But no, I to answer your question, I mean, I really get as much enjoyment out of writing and performing music as, really digging in and figuring out the business of music and how to, build that, how to sell more tickets, how to sell more records, how to build a career. And now I have 9 artists on my record label, so also helping them release music and build their careers. And it's a lot of fun, and it's a very much a long range process. You're looking over years and decades, but I feel really fortunate. For myself, I'm going into my 10th year as an artist, and it's been fortunately upward growth, year over year. So now we're working on that with the artists on my label.
Yeah. Dave mentioned something during the Christmas tour performance that I was in attendance at. He talked about mentoring as an older, more seasoned musician. And you kind of alluded to that a moment ago, talking about these fresh artists that you now have under your wing in some way. And just kind of knowing a little something about you as a person, it kind of makes me feel like that's a very real and important and valuable element for yourself in terms of the work that you do as well.
Yeah, Dave has been, an incredible mentor, and but the industry changes too, and I really credit him. There's a lot of things he's been unbelievably helpful with, and then, then he also is quick to mention, well, it's a different time when he started as an artist. He made a 4-song demo, got signed to Capitol Records, which is a major label, and then his first single came out, and then he toured for a year based off of his first single. So it's a different world now. I'm now, touring, year long, all year long, but that took about maybe 3-4 years to get that going, and that was pretty quick compared to the average new artist. So, so now I can convey those things to the artists I'm working with, and yeah, the industry is always changing, and so it's important. I mean, back then it was selling records. That's what it was all about, and now it's streaming and building a social media presence, and so I'm definitely grateful for the mentorship I got from him, and then now I'm looking to do that with the artists on my label. And yeah, I have so much to be thankful for. So I think it's the least I can do to pay it forward and try to, be that role, for some of the newer artists coming up now.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to play a little game with you right now that I play with people around this time of year. With a little fun game. It kind of helps us know a little something about the person I'm talking to. And it's basically called A Few of My Favorite Things. The first thing is a little wicked because you said earlier when you were producing your Christmas album, you whittled the list down from 40 to 50, came up with about 10 songs. I'm going to ask you, the nerve of me, what is your favorite Christmas song?
Ooh, that's tough. It might be what I mentioned earlier, even though I didn't put it on my album. The Christmas song and Nat King Cole's version. That I think it's hard to beat that. But if I were to pick a song off of my record, gosh, I really enjoyed the process. If I had to pick one, I did a version of "Celebrate Me Home" by Kenny Loggins, originally by Kenny Loggins. And that record, a lot of people don't realize that record was the Kenny Loggins record was produced by Bob James of all people, which is kind of an interesting collaboration. But yeah, there's something about that song, the very first line, "Home for the holidays." There's something about that song that just makes me think of the holidays, think of Christmas. So I was really proud of that, and I had an amazing singer on my version, Matt Cusson, who just not only did he sing the lead vocal, but he did probably 100 background vocals that he sent me, and we just really made a really epic version. I have to say, I'm really proud of it.
You talked about your mom's gumbo. Is that your favorite Christmas food, or do you have another one? And perhaps do you enjoy cooking something at Christmas time?
Yeah, well, the gumbo was always incredible growing up. And no, I don't have the gift in the kitchen, but fortunately my wife does. And so she's so funny. She's like, yeah, I don't know, if we're going to have roast, or if we're going to have, Cornish game hens, or if we're going to have turkey. And so, she always throws down, and it's amazing to see the process with her. We met, we've been together 20 years. And when we met, she, just had one dish in her repertoire. Now she can make literally anything, and it's always incredible. So, but no, I met her in LA. She's from LA, but her grandmother is originally from Louisiana. So she always has well, not always, but sometimes she'll do, more of a Southern kind of touch to the dishes. And I always enjoy that when she does, kind of, mimics what her grandmother would cook, like a Sunday dinner, roast and potatoes and whatnot. So fingers crossed for that.
Sounds great. I've always thought about having a favorite destination at Christmas time, whether that was something I was vacationing on or, being from New York City, of course, for many years, I had to travel home at Christmas time. It was always exciting. An 18-hour drive, no cell phones, et cetera. But that's another era gone by. But it was so exciting to come into that home once I got there off the road and just smell and be overwhelmed by the spirit of that season. Not just seeing my parents, but the house was nicely decorated. I felt like I had come home and I was being welcomed and embraced. Do you have a favorite Christmas destination, a place that you kind of think about, this is home for the holidays?
I don't think I've ever been on, away from home on Christmas that I can remember. So yeah, growing up in Oregon, and then now I live outside of Los Angeles. So yeah, sorry I don't have a more elaborate answer for you, but a lot of times I'm on the road right up until Christmas Eve, and it's always a good feeling to be able to get home just in time. And this year was the same. I got home Christmas Eve morning and just in time. And but yeah, I think it's a simple answer, but being home for the holidays, you can't beat it.
No, sounds wonderful to me. Final one, favorite Christmas soundtrack in a film?
Ooh, gosh, that's a tricky one, but I think the era that I grew up, Home Alone was a ubiquitous movie. I mean, didn't that come out in the early '90s? I think so. I would have been 5, 6, 7. So that was a movie that you would always, would always be on TV, always be on cable, and I definitely watched it a million times. And yeah, the soundtrack to that, to that movie is definitely. So yeah, I'm giving away my age for sure, with Home Alone. But yeah, that was a movie you couldn't escape.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's, of course, in reruns now. So you can probably see it somewhere, folks, if you haven't seen it in a while, or if you haven't ever seen it.
Yeah.
Adam, a lot of times people see people, they think they know people. And you've been around for a while now, and you've had a chance to engage with lots and lots of people. But also always know there's the rest of the story when we talk to people. And I just wanted to ask, as one of my final things today, tell us 3 things about Adam Hawley that people don't know but should know.
Well, in high school, I was really into mathematics, and I almost majored in, did a double major in math and music when I went to college. I went to University of Southern California. So that would be one thing. And I didn't, it would have taken an extra year. So I ended up doing a business minor instead of a math double major, and I'm really glad I did. But being in the School of Business was I took 8 courses to get that minor, and that was a great experience. So that would be one. Another one, I would say, I grew up playing a lot of tennis. A lot of people ask, because my son is really big into basketball, so then inevitably they ask, oh, did you play? So yeah, I actually played a lot of tennis growing up. And what would be, I have to think of a third thing. I played the trumpet, believe it or not, in concert band in grade school and and also in high school. And but I ended up giving it up because I started trumpet later, and there's a lot of physicality required to play the trumpet. They call it the embouchure, building up your facial muscles. And so I could, the physicality was behind my musical knowledge, so it was always frustrating. So so I ended up giving up the trumpet and just focusing on the guitar.
And of course, you're a huge music education advocate. Something a lot of people don't necessarily know about you, that you have an earned doctorate. You have been an instructor in that particular arena. And it's always something that I admire about you, because you really cover so many areas of the space of the music industry, the music profession, the music education piece. And you have such a tremendous opportunity to invest in that space in so many different ways. So I know that that's something that's real important for you, to be able to nurture the next generation of young people through teaching music education.
Yeah, I have so much fun in the education realm. I've been teaching. Well, overall, I've been teaching since I was, for 25 years. But I've been teaching at the collegiate level since 2013. So now 11, going on 12 years. And I'm currently at Saddleback College in Orange County, outside of LA. And yeah, I have so much fun with it. I've had such incredible students. And I really find it rewarding, and selfishly, I think I learn as much, if not more, than they do from them,
Yeah.
So it's really a great experience. And then on top of that, I've taught at 3 other colleges over the years, and then do a lot of master classes and clinics all over the world. You've been nice enough to have me in Huntsville, and I have one coming up in about an hour south of Norfolk. Coming up in April. They're having me for a 2-day intensive at Elizabeth City College, and so yeah, I really enjoy it. I don't look at performing / recording and teaching as mutually exclusive. I think they really marry very well. And me being out on the road and working in the studio, I'm able to bring those experiences and share them with the students, and vice versa. What I end up doing in the classroom, translates to the road. So yeah, I have a lot of fun with it. It's been a great experience.
Well, Adam, it's been a great experience talking to you this afternoon, too. And you're always so generous, making yourself available to have these kinds of conversations. I look forward to continue not just conversations virtually, but face-to-face conversations, because I understand you're going to be a part of the Dave Koz Jazz Cruise next year again, and I'll be there.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah, we can't wait. We're sailing out of Rotterdam and the Netherlands, then going to Norway, and then to Iceland. And
Yes.
I've been to the Netherlands, I've been to Norway, but this will be my first time to Iceland. The cruises are always incredible. I think this is my 10th or 11th cruise. So I'm so excited to hear you're going to come. I guarantee you're going to have an amazing experience, and I can't wait as well.
Well, we're looking forward to, my wife and I, Sonia. This is a little special occasion and opportunity to experience something that we enjoy to the fullest, and we look forward to seeing you at that time. Adam, have a great rest of the day. Let people know where they can connect with you on the web as well as social media.
Yeah, well, the best place to go is my website, adamhawley.com. Hawley is the spelling, and you can get to everything you need from there. You can get to all of my music, get to my online store, get to all of my social media. So that's one-stop shop. And, of course, the tour schedule, too, to see where I'm going to pop up next. So, yeah, just go to adamhawley.com, and, that'll take you where you need to go.
Fantastic. Our regards to Kat, and I hope that you continue to look forward to a great new year.
All right. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks, Adam. Take care.
All right, you too.
All right, folks, a great way to start my brand new show today, the show just before the new year starts, our very last show of 2024. We started out the show by saying we hope everybody's had a great Christmas holiday. And then as we look forward to the new year, we got some great guests to talk to today. My next guest is David Trofort. David is a dedicated husband, father, musician. We'll keep along on the music theme here. Educator. We'll keep along that theme as well. And running enthusiast. He has run in over a dozen half marathons, plus the Chicago Marathon in 2018. Oh, if I could only. A health advocate and motivational speaker, he loves helping others and finds joy in promoting health, fitness, and his faith. Now, an ACL tear replacement in 2009 and his penchant for food inspired this awesome book called Eat, Pray, Run, a food, faith, and fitness guide for new and renewed runners, with a foreword by none other than Dr. Eric Thomas. He is, of course, living in the great city of Atlanta with his wife, Tara, and his three sons, Nicholas, Miles, and Aaron. Welcome back to the broadcast, my very dear friend, David Trofort. How you doing this afternoon, brother?
Hey, Dr. Kenny, how are you? Hi, everybody.
I'm doing great. You look like you either finished the run or about to go on a run, man.
Listen, I'm about to go on a run.
Oh.
I went to the gym this morning to do some strength conditioning, but I need to get some miles logged today. Yeah,
man,
I'm shy 5 miles today, so I need to get 5 in.
Man, you're going to do it, man. And I know you post your stuff, too, so we get a chance to see that incredible inspiration and that consistency that I'm sure inspires lots and lots of people. I know it does me, and I'm always happy to see it. December 29th, we, of course, hope you had a great Christmas. And as we look forward to the new year, one thing we wanted to do was talk to you again about this amazing book. Congratulations on it once again, Eat, Pray, Run. I thought there would be really a meaningful and possibly productive conversation for those who are in that headspace where they're now thinking about the next year, making the transition, doing something differently, doing something better, and really kind of enhancing the quality of their life in so many different ways. And because Eat, Pray, Run covers our emotional, our spiritual, and our physical health, I wanted to have you back on the air. So thank you for joining me once again.
Hey, listen, it is an honor and a privilege to be here. Thank you for the opportunity. And I'm just here ready to inspire somebody to make 2025 the best year of their lives. No New Year's resolutions here. Just focus on consistency. Consistency.
The difference between the new year is 24 hours.
24 hours.
So it's nothing magical that happens. You can turn that magic on today start that consistency today.
That's right.
And just carry it forward into that new year. Let me ask you this question. So a lot of people on December 29th here reflecting on the fact that 12 months ago, they approached 2024 with a lot of enthusiasm and excitement. and just 2, 4, 6 weeks later, it was done.
Yeah.
Whatever that resolution was. In fact, I'm glad you said that. I don't make resolutions. I make investments. And I think that when I started making investments, I then started being able to define a return on that investment.
Come on. Yeah.
From a financial perspective and context. When you make a financial investment, you want a return. When you invest in education, you want a return. When you invest in your spirituality, you want a return. We got to do the same thing with our lives as well.
Oh, yeah.
And so speak to those people first. We're not going to beat you up, folks. We're just going to talk a little bit and reflect on why you should not punish yourself and how there's so much hope ahead as we move into 2025. If people failed this year in terms of meeting their expectations, where would you begin with just sort of talking with them to get them set up as they move forward towards 25?
An old commission song, Get Back Up in the Saddle.
Oh,
Listen. First of all, let me start here. I think people, as you've said, are so hard on themselves. And the reality is sometimes we fall by the wayside. Sometimes we eat things we shouldn't eat. Some days we don't exercise. Some weeks we don't exercise. But you can always hit the reset button. That's the beauty of life, the Creator giving you another day, another opportunity to make a difference, to make an investment, as you said, and to work on getting those yielding returns, especially as it relates to your nutrition, as it relates to your fitness, and definitely as it relates to spirituality. A lot of folks are going to be in church on New Year's Eve, and it's an opportunity to make a commitment to be more disciplined, to be more consistent, because the truth is, discipline, sometimes we just don't have it. But if you think about being consistent, I tend to think it can trump the discipline, because you're getting up again and you're getting back in the gym, or you're deciding to go for that walk again, or you're even choosing, hey, I'm not going to have that sweet. I'm not going to have all those carbs, but that goes into the nutritional context.
absolutely. We get off the rails for a lot of different reasons. Sometimes, sometimes we think about it just as a purely, I lost my motivation, but sometimes life happens, like for real. Things happen in terms of our schedules, things happen in terms of our jobs, our responsibilities at home, our health issues and other kinds of things like that. So as people begin to think about the new year, let's marry that concept of consistency with how they have a greater capacity, or can have a greater capacity, to stay on the rails in 2025.
Absolutely.
Because life will happen.
Life will happen. I think it's critical. You made such a good point. The consistency of it is this: people have setbacks. I know. I had a knee surgery in 2009, an ACL tear, off of a whim, basketball game at church. But the reality is, you got to decide that, hey, I'm going to stay in the race. I'm going to stay in the game. Consistency is the key. And it's how the turtle won the race, he beat the hare because he was consistent. And I can't reiterate that enough. A lot of folks are going to be making, as you said, resolutions and making commitments to do X, Y, and Z. But again, if you're listening, don't be so hard on yourself, and set up goals that you know that you can meet. If you haven't exercised in weeks or months, decide that, one day, the first couple of days, or sometime in the new year, you're going to commit to 30 minutes to maybe walk, in your 24-hour day. It's just as easy as that.
Let's talk about, since you opened that up and moved us in that direction, let's stay right there for a moment, and let's talk about those three elements: eat, pray, run. And let's give people some tools in each of those areas to be able to think about. I want to start, first of all, with the eat part, because we really are what we eat, and we learn that more and more as we get older.
Yeah.
What I should have, maybe paid attention to a while back, and I didn't necessarily do it, has taken a toll on my life now. It costs a lot less to stay healthy than it does to repair an issue or to reverse an issue. Doesn't mean it can't happen.
That's right.
It'll take a lot of work to do that. From a food, nutrition perspective, especially for those that say, it's too expensive to try to eat healthy, or people who eat for taste, or people who eat because of comfort. what can we say to people in 2025 that can help them develop some tools in their kit to consider as they move forward?
Great point. Let's start here. Most of us don't eat for nutritional purposes. We actually find emotional and psychological fulfillment in many cases in our eating. And eating is actually, I'm going to say it, it's a drug. Different things that you eat and ingest, they cause your body to react. They put you in a certain mood, which is why so many of us are addicted to sugar. But the truth is, I have learned, and I have chosen now to eat for cell nutrition, for cell development. So I'm not eating to feel good, but I'm eating because I want to provide a healthy space for my body to grow and to generate on the cellular level. Which causes me to then say, well, now I'm not just eating to taste, but of course we have to eat to taste because people just, it's not sustainable. You want to eat something that tastes good, but there are a few weird guys out there who have learned how to eat for cell development. It's tough. It's tough, but it's doable. It's why we include plant-based roughage, the salads, the legumes. It's why we include all of that in our diet, because that is helping to nourish this body, this temple that God has given us. Food is one of the biggest challenges, Kenny, that everybody out there listening is facing. It's when to go hard or when to pull back. And then I would dare say we have to be balanced. There has to be a balance in terms of knowing that, you know, it's not the end of the world if you have that chocolate cake or if you have that chocolate chip cookie, or even if you have, you know, that milkshake. Oh boy. Let's not talk about calories. Please, let's not talk about calories today. But it's okay to have that, you know, every now and then. But if you're on the road to a healthy diet, we know, most people out there listening know, that you want to have a high content of plant-based, and you want to minimize your animal fats and proteins. You want to minimize those.
I am so happy. There's something that really just wells up inside of me when people start talking about plant-based. I'm gonna be a little transparent here.
Okay.
So I grew up eating meat. I never ate pork, but I ate beef and chicken. I walked away from beef and chicken about 17 years ago. And it was as a result of learning more about supplements and what you were just talking about how disease occurs at the cellular level. And we oftentimes think about, you know, through things like oxidation and stuff like that.
Sure.
We oftentimes think about the illness that we get from this thing that happened, this moment, this experience, this occurrence. But because it's a progressive thing, we don't see the damage that's done over a long and sustained period of time.
Sure.
But when you talk about plant-based nutrition, and I hope you'll talk a little more about that, because it really has gotten much more exciting, much more available. The opportunities in restaurants, as well as recipes that you can make at home. And of course, there are a lot of people who are trying to resort to gardening now, which is a great idea. There are tremendous options for plant-based eating that don't cause people to feel like the image in a lot of people's minds is, you know, maybe an animal chewing leaves in a field somewhere. I don't eat no leaves. I don't want to eat no plants.
Right. Grass. They don't want to eat any grass.
Yeah, I don't eat no grass. Man, listen, I've had some very delicious plates, man. I didn't even think twice about the meat I used to eat. This is important stuff for people to know.
Listen, and I'm glad you brought that up in terms of plant-based, because we come from a faith that put a lot of emphasis on those substitutes. I'm talking about I'm not going to call any names, but those meat substitutes that we were using as a bridge to get into plant-based, but it has become our highway now. So every weekend or whenever we're having those large meals, gathering with family and friends, you are sure to find some kind of textured vegetable protein, aka TVP, or some other substitute for meat. And the truth is, as you have said, plant-based is trending now. Veganism is really a big thing, at least in the Western culture. Of course, you still got a lot of folk who believe in, meat and whatnot. But there are a lot of folks who are turning the corner. They're making a transition to be more focused on including plant-based in their diet. And it's because of how it affects the body and how it affects our overall health. Yeah. You said it. It was progressive. A lot of the sicknesses that we find today is because people's diet has been so poorly approached and not considering that, hey, you are what you eat. Yeah.
Absolutely. So when we push back from the table successfully, and perhaps prayerfully, we want to make sure that we also, as we approach 25, take inventory of our spiritual lives.
Yes.
And how we connect with God. Talk a little bit about the pray element of what you're sharing with people.
Absolutely. So many of us think that God is this out there ready to punish us as soon as we do something wrong. But God loves us with a love that cannot even be measured. It's more than we'll ever know. And so as I approach the new year, I'm reaffirming my commitment to my Lord and Savior. I'm also deciding that I'm going to carve out more time, more early morning time, because of course we know how the day gets ahead of us. I personally carve out about 30 minutes every morning just in devotion and meditation. That's not all prayer. That's not all listening to inspirational music, but I'm contemplative. I'm saying to myself, okay, God, it's you and me today. It's you and me. There's nothing that we can't handle together. There's nothing that we cannot handle. This is the day, and we're going to approach it with an attitude of gratitude. I stress that also. When you realize how blessed we are, you tend to focus less on the problems of the day and focus on the blessings and the things that we have and that we're grateful for. We're such a blessed people in the Western world. We have more than we need, and we waste a lot. Let's just be quite honest. But I am thankful that God has been faithful, and he's faithful even on those days when some people think that he's not working or he's not interacting or doing what we want him to do. God is a all-loving, all-caring God who knows the end from the beginning. And the truth is, it's all working for our good, even for those who don't even believe, even for those who don't believe.
The value of a life that is grounded and anchored in a relationship with God is just invaluable.
It's invaluable.
The thing you said a moment ago that I think, and I absolutely 100% agree. I've kind of spent the year kind of talking about this to people whenever it comes up. People say, how you doing? And I've said probably more times than not this year, I'm grateful. Yeah. Because I'm locked and loaded on gratitude.
Come on. That's
and it's not something that I'm just, it's not a cliche with me. It's like, no, wait a minute. I got up this morning. I'm grateful.
Come on.
I didn't roll out of the bed this morning. I was able to sit up on the side of the bed. I was able to kneel on the side of the bed. Once I kneeled, I was able to get up from kneeling.
Yes, God.
People, they're waiting for the Red Sea to part. I'm like, no, wait a minute. Do you know that your heart just beat just now? That's a blessing.
Oh, yeah.
That heartbeat was a blessing. Do you know that when you put one step in front of the other foot, or one foot in the other foot, and you're stepping forward, don't you know each step is a blessing?
Listen.
And I have challenged myself this year, my brother, to just be grateful for whatever's happening, in whatever situation, when adversity comes. My thing is not so much why, Lord. My thing is, what are you trying to teach me? I'm trying to be grateful, man. Listen, this is the basis for me of how life can and should be lived.
Absolutely.
And I can't say enough about that.
Listen, there's no other way. There's no other way. We woke up this morning. That should be enough to assume an attitude and a posture of thanksgiving and gratitude. Every day is a day of Thanksgiving. We just, not long ago just celebrated that. And, we have so many blessings. When I was a kid, we learned the song, Count Your Blessings, name them one by one. Count your blessings, see what God has done. And as I have matured and as I've aged, I realized that we are blessed beyond measure. And as a result, in that attitude and posture of thanksgiving, I always approach the day, who can I help? Who can I be a blessing to? Whose life can I impact? Because at the end of the day, it's not about just us. So Eat, Pray, Run is really about you walking and talking and living a life that draws the attention to the divine, to the creator, to the person who's helping you eat, the person who's helping you pray, the person who's helping you exercise, and the person who's keeping your heart beating, which is an involuntary muscle.
It's all good, man. And I tell you, I get excited when I think about it because certainly don't take it for granted.
Oh, yeah.
Eat, Pray, Run, a food, faith, and fitness guide for new and renewed runners is a book by David Trofort. The foreword is by our good friend, Dr. Eric Thomas, who I just spoke to, in fact, the other day. Eric sent me a text message. I called him up. I said, yo, man, I ain't gonna let you get away with a text message, man. I'm calling you, brother.
That's right. Yeah.
I need some inspiration in a moment, man. No, I'm not gonna let you get away with this. I'm gonna hold you accountable.
and he'll give you the time. He'll give you the time.
Man, we had a wonderful fellowship.
Oh yeah, he is definitely a very special brother. That's a life brother for me. Yeah, man.
Absolutely, man. It was good to talk to him, and he's been so good to so many people. In the last few minutes we have, run is part of this process. So there's a physical element of this challenge that people will face in 2025 to keep themselves balanced and stable and healthy and moving forward. Talk to me about the run element of this.
So when we say Eat, Pray, Run, it's kind of a euphemism. It really means to exercise. It means to move from a sedentary lifestyle to a more active lifestyle. What causes atrophy and what causes us to age prematurely, and in some cases, what causes us to an untimely grave is because we haven't been moving. And, you and I, we remember elementary, junior, middle school, junior high, high school. PE with physical education was always a part of it.
That's right.
But something happens once people get out of that high school element, get into college, life be lifing, as everybody's saying now.
Right.
And now folks just are not making the same amount of time for physical activity. And that is to our demise. And so what I have tried to convey in the book is that, listen, you can do a little bit more than you did yesterday. If you just went and walked to the park or you walked around your neighborhood, up the game up a little bit. It will only serve to your benefit.
Yeah.
Because the way we were wired, we were created for movement. Okay. When you stop moving, you're dead. All right. And so many of us are living, but we're not moving.
Ooh.
So
we've become the living dead.
Look at that. We become the living dead because we are not engaging and moving. And that's what causes bone loss. That's what causes muscle loss, which we call, as I said, atrophy. And we can make a change. All we've got to do is decide that today it's either day one or the first day.
Yeah.
And I choose to say this is day one, though I've been doing this for, quite a while. But I want to encourage and inspire somebody. Make this your day one. Decide that you are going to move. Decide that you're going to walk. Decide that you're going to swim. Decide that you're going to jog. Decide that you're going to cycle. There are a million things to do out there to get active and start moving. And even for some of those who are more older, who are a little seasoned, who can't move as well as they used to, staying active. My mother is 80 plus years old, and I'm encouraging her every day to make sure she's walking and doing those laps around that development. And she has said that, hey, every time I walk, I feel better about the day because I committed to some form of exercise.
Yeah. Wow. That's so powerful to think about the integration of those three things. We can't really be our full, complete, comprehensive selves by ignoring or neglecting any one of those things.
Sure.
That we have to create balance in our nutritional approach. We have to create balance in our spirituality. We have to create balance in our exercise routine. And as we move into 2025, we're hopeful that the things that David has said regarding these three elements are things that you can embrace and do them in a way where, I'm going to go back to that word he used earlier because I think it is perhaps the most powerful word. That's the consistency.
Consistency.
You know, don't look ahead to June when you're going to the beach in January and then you're not consistent enough 4, 5, 6 weeks in, so you just drop it all.
Come on.
Focus on smaller results that can yield maximum benefits.
Absolutely. The summer body is created in winter, guys. for everybody who's hoping, for the 2-piece or for the 6-pack during the summer, newsflash, it is created. And I'm moving to the camera. I got excited. It's created in winter. It's created in the off season. That's really where the characters develop. That's really where the discipline is developed in the off season. And there are several folks who are getting ready for the new year, and it should be a time for reflection. It should be a time for goal setting, but let's set realistic goals. There are a lot of folks out there who, want to lose 30 pounds, in the next 2-3 months. But there's a way to approach it. And the best way to approach it is apply some consistency and some fundamental principles as it relates to nutrition. And you can Google, we just are without excuse at this point, Kenny. You can Google a diet that is going to promote weight loss, a diet that is going to promote muscle gain or strength conditioning. These are things that we can do, without batting an eye.
That's right.
On a spiritual note, carving out some time to pray, carving out some time to talk to God, and to invite God into your space and to lead and guide you and to order your steps, I think is pivotal for 2025. For anybody who's out there who's not sure, the first thing you ought to do is to ask God to lead and guide you in every aspect of your day, even those that might seem trite and mundane. Just simple decisions to make, because I don't think anything happens by chance. Everything happens. There's a reason for everything that happens.
Believe that there have been nuggets of wisdom shared that you can glean from and incorporate into the master plan that you're developing even now for your life in 2025. I know you're talking about it, folks. Everybody's talking about it.
Everybody's talking about it.
You're excited. You can't wait for it to happen. And you got these 6 things that you want to get done. We can help you, folks, but just take your time, develop the plan for you, and then be consistent in that process. I'll close on that very powerful word that David used several times. David, let people know how they can catch up with you, website, where they can find the book, where they can bring you in for a book signing or book discussion.
Sure.
How can people connect with you?
DavidTrofort.com. You can find all the resources for purchasing the book. My merchandise store is there as well. You can get you a nice cool hat. I've got sweaters. If it's you want to be cool for the winter swag, I've got whatever you need there. You can also find me on Facebook and Instagram, Eat, Pray, Run Official. Eat, Pray, Run Official. And I would love to talk more about it, but I know our time is up.
Well, listen, there'll be another time, because part of my 2025 investment is to have David Trofort on my show a few more times. I know he's a busy brother, but I'm going to make the call from time to time. Good to see you as always, my brother, and have a happy new year.
Thank you for the call, Kenny. Happy New Year, guys.
All right, brother. Take care, man.
Bye.
Folks, that was David Trofort. Of course, he is the author of an amazing book. The book is called Eat, Pray, Run, a food, faith, and fitness guide for new and renewed runners, I strongly recommend that you get your copy today. I'm going to come back in just a moment and introduce my next guest. I'm Kenny Anderson. It's Second Chance. I hope you're having a wonderful and fantastic day.
Transforming lives.
You're listening to Second Chance with Kenneth Anderson.
Welcome back to the broadcast. I hope that you're having a great day today. As we started the broadcast, I said that I hope you had a great Christmas. It's December the 29th. We're just a few days now away from the brand new year, and we are looking forward to some wonderful things happening as a consequence of that. And we thought we'd line up our show a little bit today in terms of how people can kind of prepare in anticipation for the new year as they reflect on the journey of 2024. Joining me this afternoon are Richard and Renda Horne. They are dynamic and relatable marriage and relationship coaches who have been married for 25 years. Together, they co-wrote the highly acclaimed book, Don't Divorce Over Corned Beef and Cabbage, Go from a Marital Mess to a Marriage That's Blessed. And it was really that title that just has captured me ever since. They have been fortunate enough to recognize, unlock, and ignite their God-given purpose of restoring as well as preventing broken and toxic marriages and relationships. They have combined their love for marriage restoration with traveling and take their DDOCC marriage rap sessions to the world. You can check out their social media at Keeping It Real Car Conversation segments and YouTube. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to my platform, the Second Chance platform. Richard
Thank you.
and Renda Horne. How you guys doing?
We're doing well. Thank you so much for having us.
It's great to see you both again. The last time I saw you was in September when you came down for the Jazz in the Park event. It was great to see you guys. And you guys worked the crowd, I tell you, man. People have said, now, who was that relationship group again? People have asked me since then because you made an impression on their lives, even if they didn't entirely remember the name. But I know the book was available to people. I know you had some great engagement. It is really good to see both of you all once again. I'm so glad to see that Richard and Renda Horne have rejoined me. They're the authors of Don't Divorce Over Corned Beef and Cabbage, Go from a Marital Mess to a Marriage That's Blessed. How are you guys doing once again?
We are doing well.
We are doing well. We apologize for technical difficulties. We literally have no idea what's going on with it, but
No, well, you're here now, so that's what's going on. Let's just move forward.
okay.
Good to have both of you once again. We were just reflecting on your visit to Huntsville and the fact that we were able to reconnect, and you guys created a lot of energy in the space that you had. So I hope your trip here and your visit was enjoyable.
It was amazing. It was awesome. It was our first time in Huntsville, and what a time we had. I mean, we had an amazing time, met some amazing people, and just really, really was impressed with and all that you do. And congratulations again on your retirement.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm still celebrating that every day as a blessing and something that I'm grateful for. So
Yeah, we're looking forward to next year, and we're going to stay a weekend. So.
yeah. Well, listen, it's good to have you guys back because the first time you were here, we got a chance to meet you. You talked a little bit about the work that you do, what brought you, your personal testimony, what brought you to writing this book. That still, as I said, has one of the best names. Don't Divorce Over Corned Beef and Cabbage, Go from a Marital Mess to a Marriage That's Blessed. And Richard and Renda, we both know and understand that this is a time of year where people kind of look reflectively over the past year and they look forward to the coming year. And we also know, well, you certainly know as marital counselors and people who have, you know, very willingly and transparently and authentically talked to people about your own story and the own challenges that you faced, that you have the capacity to help guide people and inspire people to greater spaces as far as their relationships are concerned. So I wanted to kind of focus a little bit on that today and the time that we have for the broadcast, the minutes we have left, which is right around 16, 17 minutes. So let's make the most of that time. I want to ask this question because a lot of people are stumbling to the finish line in terms of their relationships from 2024. They've had challenges, they've had adversity, they've had many, many things that have not necessarily worked out for them. First of all, I want you to speak a word of encouragement to those individuals as they look into the prism of 2025.
All right. I would just say, hold faith, trust in God, make more time to have closer relationship with God, but build a closer relationship with one another and make each other feel secure that you're there with each other, no matter what you're dealing with.
Yes. And I would also say too, around this time of year, it can be very, very challenging for many people. Some people may have lost loved ones. Some people, are separated, from distance during the holidays. However, just know that you're not alone. You're not alone. God is always with you. And even with spouses, sometimes you can be in the same room but feel distant. And I mean, honestly, you really can. And what we do is we do it more often, but I would say at least quarterly. Just kind of do a reflection on, how things have progressed in your relationship, what has been more of a challenge, and what is something that you really want to work on together to move forward, to get stronger.
So here's the challenge, and I know they're like 8,000 people yelling at us right now. They're yelling at all three of us, by the way, so we can all embrace that energy. They're saying, but it's too late. I'm in this situation with a person who won't listen to me. I'm in a situation with a person who doesn't care about coming together and having an inventory conversation about where we are and where we stand and what we may want to do together. They're already in the I mindset, and they're kind of moving beyond this reconciliation point. Is there hope for those individuals?
Absolutely. I would say, first of all, been there, done that. We were in a position at one point where we thought it's over. It's kind of hopeless. However, I just thank God that He is God. And I thank God for His word, because He's the same yesterday, today, and forever. And in
that situation, if I could jump in real quick, in that situation, how did you guys do it? I know you talked about your testimony before, but there may be some people listening today, and I'm not asking you to tell the whole testimony, but that specific thing you just commented on, I think, is so important. You were there, and we overcome by the testimony of others.
That's right.
We grow through the experiences of others. We have the capacity to move and modify our experiences because of what others share. And that's why I love the work that you all are doing, because you guys are genuine. You are authentic. You are transparent and willing to share these things. Tell us how you did it. How did it work out for you? What did you do specifically, since you were where a lot of people are right now?
Well, for myself, I humbled myself, to be honest. I come from a family of very, very strong women, and women who really want to be heard and not always want to be, in all honesty. And but what I had to realize, I had to first of all humble myself and go to God and say, Lord, you know what? Doing this my way is not working. How would you lead me? And, I remember honestly, really quick saying, you know what, God, me and you, we good. We're good, God. We're good. But you need to get with Him. Lord, I'll be glad when you just get with Him and get Him together, because He is just making this thing hard. And, it's honestly something God told me. God said, you know what? You're right. He said, but how about I start with you first?
Ooh.
And I know, right? Because that's what I said. I said, ooh, wait a minute, God, you don't have to start with me. We're good, right? He said, no, but how about I just start with you? And that's how, honestly, for me, the transition began.
Yeah. Richard?
For me, it was, the scripture says where your heart is, that's where your treasures will be. And I had to learn to treasure and value her. And once I started shifting my focus and stopped focusing on what I didn't like about her, what I didn't care about her, what bad things was going on in our relationship, when I started valuing her, it was more important for me to value her because I treasure her. So I had to shift my focus. Instead of me focusing on what I didn't like, I had to focus on what I liked.
Yeah.
So I just had to shift my focus.
Yeah. I'm going to tell you guys, none of us know this in this moment, but you have just helped someone.
Amen.
You absolutely have helped someone.
Mm.
Because you've talked about something I think that's critical in relationships, not just relationships that are broken or appear hopeless, but in all relationships, the idea of humbling ourselves before God, not asking God necessarily to fix another person before he's fixed me.
Right.
And then I'll say shifting the focus of responsibility and finger pointing and blaming
Absolutely.
that we tend to do in our humanity because it protects us. It makes us feel good. It helps get people on our side. You know, we get our fan club, you know, that says, yeah, I can't believe they did that, you know, and then all that stuff starts happening. And then before you know it, you've got all these other voices and energy in a relationship when you don't have the capacity to fix it yourself anyway, but you turn it over to God. What a powerful thing you just said. I want to do this because I don't know that we do this enough. I know I've heard it, but I want to do this because I don't always like to take the position of relationships are just fraught with distress and despair, and every relationship you see is about to blow up. No, there's some relationships that are working.
Yeah.
I didn't say it was easy, but there's some relationships that are working. So I want to take this perspective with regards to 2025. For those couples that feel like they're moving in the right direction, at whatever stage that might be, maybe it's a baby step or maybe it's something that they feel deeply invested and committed to. How do they work towards sustaining that in 2025?
Take accountability and understand that you are the light of the world, and your light has to shine for others to see. And you're only responsible for you. I'm not responsible for her. I am solely responsible for me. So if I show up 100%, regardless if she show up 20, 80, or 100, I'm only responsible to do what I've committed to do in the eyesight of God. And so she'll be honored and our relationship be honored. So just take accountability for what you do.
And I would say this, you know, the Lord showed us something, and actually it's something we actually get into in the book. And I remember God sharing this with us, and we were like, huh? But the Lord said, you know what? Stop saying, don't buy into the idea that marriages are broken. He said, there are no broken marriages. He said, I created marriage perfect. He said, there are broken people that go into the covenant of marriage. And they break, you know, covenants and promises and vows. He said, but marriage stays intact.
Wow.
He said the institution of marriage stays intact just the way I created it. Just because, you know, broken people are a part of that does not make the institution itself broken. And God says what you do is you begin to work on the people that are broken to become whole.
You know, that is such a powerful thing that you just shared with regards to perspective, because things become what we believe them to be. So if we look at relationships and marriages that's failed and broken, and we kind of define it that way, and we do that in a lot of ways in our society, you know, we need to focus on the element of our own personal brokenness that we may be contributing to the process. And work with God on getting that fixed. I love what you said. Now, a lot of couples take the perspective of, and I'm curious about your specific things, take the perspective of investing time in the space of the marriage to be able to talk to one another, to be able to share activities with one another, to have certain kinds of things that you do together in order to be able to keep the marriage alive. For some people, it's therapy. For some people, it's a retreat. For some people, it's game night or date night or something of that effect. What do you all do in order to keep those kinds of things moving forward in your relationship? And how do you, in 2025, for those that are listening, How do you keep your focus on that with increasing demands in one's life? That could be work related, that could even be family related, that kind of causes couples sometimes to shift and to veer.
Well, I would start with this, and I would say, number one, keep your family out your business. I'm keeping it real. Keep your family out of your business. And a lot of times we have family more in our business than God. And that's the problem. And we'll listen to family and we won't listen to God. And what happens a lot, you have broken family members who are trying to give you advice and not listening to the word of God. And so, number one, stay a unified, we're one. When God says he created us, and when it came to marriage, when we come together, we become one. And so we have to become one and go to God together. That's the number one thing we do. We tend to do, even, humble ourselves, go to God together, and keep family out of our business.
And for me, it's listening to her. And I let her instruct me. I let her guide me. I let her tell me when I'm wrong. And a lot of times after I go back and cipher what she says, 90% of the times she's right. So I don't take it as her attacking me. The criticism that she gives me is helpful in a lot of cases. Yeah. But then on the other hand, I have to be responsible to know that it's my responsibility to cover her, to love her, to make her feel secure. So if I'm doing my part, I can't do nothing but believe God is doing his part. As far as communication, one more thing. She does this a lot. She said, baby, when we first met, this or that. Or baby, why did you know that you love me? She always refreshes me and reminds me of why I fell in love with her or why I love her. She does it so often, I can't forget it.
And we talk about that. We do. And you know what? And also, I just want to add this too. Just like he listens very well to me and when things that I'm, maybe advising or talking with him about, I learn not to just harp on him. I learned not to nag him, and if it comes to that point, I honestly pray to say, Holy Spirit, when I'm crossing the line, show me when I'm nagging so I can't do that. And he may say, okay, honey. And I'll say, you know what, honey, let me back off. I'm going to let you have your space. Yeah. And I have to respect that.
Yeah, that's all good stuff for sure. And as couples in relationships maybe listening this afternoon, that's an awesome thing to do. There'll be some people in 2025 who are thinking about taking their relationship to the next level. They're engaged right now, perhaps, or they're in a very serious, committed relationship right now that could result in an engagement, that could result in a marriage. Is there anything that you'd like to share with that group of individuals with regards to how they move into 2025?
Absolutely. Counseling, and more counseling. That in our time, it wasn't the standard. That wasn't something that was encouraged. It wasn't something that was really talked about. It was something that wasn't really done. And so I would absolutely encourage counseling. It's nothing wrong with that. It's actually a benefit.
Yeah.
I say be ready to work every day. And I say that every day because, you go through like you say, the engagement, the wedding, and, the first 3 years, 5 years of marriage. But when you get to 7 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, 25 years, it's a continuous cycle of marriage, of work. It's a continuous cycle of meeting each other's needs. And they evolve over time. When we were younger, we used to sit, in the park and just laugh and giggle. Now we got to come together and figure out how to pay bills and be responsible and spend time with one another. So
and balance things.
Yes, absolutely.
You want to make sure you continue that balance into those decades of marriage. Because I think what happens, some people think, oh, you get to a certain place, you arrive and you just coast. And it doesn't work like that. You still have to support and balance and, interact and spend time with one another. Don't feel like, oh, I'm here, so I don't have to impress him, or I don't have to, he doesn't have to cater to me in any type of way. It's an exchange. It's not just a deposit.
And real quick, she makes me feel honored. All the time she'll say certain things, baby, I'm proud of you. I don't even know if she's really proud of me, but it feels good.
I am.
I might say to her, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm proud of you, or baby, you hungry. I know you've been working all night. You know, I made you food, or just do things to them to show them that you really appreciate them, you care about them, opposite of telling them what you don't like about them or making them angry or something.
I mean, you can discuss those things, but don't let that be the premise. Don't let that be the driving force of the relationship. You know, it shouldn't be more negatives than positives.
I love everything you just said, because I do think one of the things that we can take into 2025 is that whole notion of how we define certain things and how we speak about certain things. And I think that's so critical in terms of setting us up for either success or failure. So when we speak positive things and positive affirmations, it actually creates, I think, a lot of energy that protects us against some of the other challenges that might come up in the relationship. I don't see you as somebody who's always attacking me. I don't see you as somebody who's always undermining me. I don't see you as a person who just jumps in the game when something's wrong. It's a relational growth type of thing that's taking place that is more holistic and comprehensive, that covers the entire relationship, as opposed to these sort of reactionary kinds of things that creates defensiveness, and anger, and more. So what you just said is extremely powerful. As I said, you all are helping people this afternoon, and I'm so glad to have you. They are Richard and Renda Horne. I'm so honored. I mean, that's one of the blessings I had this past year, of having a chance to meet them and begin growing our relationship. They're the authors of a book called Don't Divorce Over Corned Beef and Cabbage. There's no better name to hold that book up. There it is. Don't Divorce Over Corned Beef and Cabbage. Go from a marital mess to a marriage that's blessed. How can people find that book and make that part of their New Year's investment? Because I don't say resolutions, because people should be investing for a return on their investment.
I like that.
So what should they do?
They should go to our website. Our website is richardandrenda.com.
Say that one more time.
It's richardandrenda.com.
And you all are available for speaking engagements and other kinds of retreats and other kinds of things that go on?
Yes, we have, again, with our book, we have a book. This book is packed with strategies to help strengthen and propel your marriage, your relationship to the next level.
Right. And we like to do interaction rap sessions where we, give information, but we also open up a dialogue for people to have open discussions.
Right.
So it don't seem like they're just getting information,
but we're exchanging. Right. There you go.
It's often said that there's no testimony without a test. You guys have had a test, and you all have testified to that test on this broadcast now at least twice. And I look forward to my 2025 being enriched by additional appearances on the Second Chance platform. It's so good to see you guys again. The book is called Don't Divorce Over Corned Beef and Cabbage. There it is. Go from a marital mess to a marriage that's blessed. Richard and Renda Horne are the authors. So good to see you, my friends, and Happy New Year to both of you.
Always a pleasure.
Congratulations on everything.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. Y'all have a great afternoon.
You as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much. What a great conversation and information sharing, an opportunity for you all to be able to embrace practical things for your toolkit for relationships as you move into 2025. We look forward to having Richard and Renda again sometime in the near future to be able to share their thoughts and perspectives. I'm going to keep it rolling this afternoon because we're having such an awesome time here on December 29th. Just, let's see, 29, 30, 31. I got to always count because I'm not good in math. I'm good in a lot of other things, but math was not one of them. I got to count the days. 3 days from the brand new year. That means that you hopefully had a great Christmas, and we're celebrating today with our guests, sharing information, context, and perspective about things that we can think about for the coming year. And my next guest is actually a friend of mine. And I like when I bring friends on the show because, you never know what can happen. But one thing that is absolutely going to happen is you're going to be informed and inspired. David Anthony Johnson is an accomplished speaker, vocalist, and chaplain with over 35 years of experience inspiring others through motivational messages, music, and personal stories. Known for his powerful impersonation of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., I hope you got some of that for me today, brother. I didn't tell you I was going to ask you for that, but I hope you got a little bit of that for me today, because I am going to ask you. David has shared the stage with such figures as Rosa Parks, Maya Angelou, and Johnny Cochran, performing for diverse audiences worldwide. He is the founder of 5 Talents More Ministry, which empowers individuals to use their gifts for positive change. He holds a Master of Divinity in Chaplain Ministry from Regent University and is currently completing his chaplain residency at the Veterans Affairs Seattle Puget Sound facility. Sounds like a beautiful place, by the way. Yeah. A seasoned pastor, David has served as a youth director and senior pastor in several churches and has extensive experience as a hospice and hospital chaplain, probation officer, and speaker. His life story and mission continue to inspire others to pursue fulfillment through service, faith, and leadership. Welcome to the Second Chance broadcast, my brother, David Anthony Johnson. What's going on, man?
I'm humbled. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, man. You look good there, and we can hear you.
Oh, man, I'm trying to be like you, sir. Good to see you. Good to see you again. And
yes.
I see you on Facebook doing great things and whatnot. I love what you do, and I'm just happy to be here on your program.
I'm glad to have you. We've been celebrating all show now. We started out earlier with award-winning jazz guitarist Adam Hawley, who just got his 17th #1 Billboard single.
Oh,
wow. He is just breaking up the charts and just a wonderful person, which is why I wanted to have him on the broadcast today. And then we followed that up with a great conversation with somebody that you know also, David Trofort, who wrote the book, Eat, Pray, Run, and we were talking about how people can kind of move into the new year with these 3 values at the core of their experiences. And then, of course, Richard and Renda Horne, the authors of Don't Divorce Over Corned Beef and Cabbage, talking about relational elements. You, of course, are a chaplain, so you know why I'm coming for you today, but you're also a person who inspires and you sing. So I'm going to talk a little bit about those dimensions of the transition from 24 to 25 as it relates to what kind of guidance and wisdom can you share with us today. I first of all want to ask you this question because this is a very tough time of year, and it's been a very tough season for a lot of people with the holiday season from Thanksgiving until Christmas. Transitioning grief, loss is real. You have worked in the space of hospice, which is something that I've had personal experience with my mother-in-law being in hospice just before she passed. I know so many others who've either been in hospice or going into hospice who have had that experience, and I know the weight and the burden of grief at this time of year, a weight that people will carry into 2025. What can you say to those individuals who we are surrounded by at this time in our own lives and experiences? What can you say to those people who, number one, have had the experience or are experiencing that hospice transition now or loss? Or what can you say to people who are connected to people? Because what we say to people sometimes may be well-intended, but not exactly empathetic. What can you say to that population of individuals to help them make a transition into 2025?
Wow, that's a very powerful question. And I have, we've had a lot of losses, at the CLC here, veterans you get close to, and then they pass away. Just last week, I'm having to help one of the nurses lift the body of one of our deceased veterans who had passed away, lifting them onto the gurney. And, you do it over and over again. I would say the first thing is to just listen to them in their pain and just let them know that they're being heard. Let them express how they feel, and just, empathetic listening, unbiased, anxiety presence, to just listen. If they want to feedback, you give them feedback, empathetic feedback. I'm so sorry you're going through this. If you got to read the room, because if time allows, you can go into a story that may help them of what other families are going through and how they're coping and their coping skills or whatnot. So it's just it's not a cookie cutter thing, if you will, from what I have seen. It's more on a case by case situation, listening to them because everybody is different and they handle problems differently from what I have seen here as a resident chaplain. There's, I mean, there's a plethora of scenarios and personalities you're dealing with. And we have these veterans, we have non-veterans, civilians that are passing away. We have a hope. You first of all, we're learning here that you got to first understand what their orienting system is. What do they believe in? And to get to understand them more, I would have to listen to them, feel their pain, and then kind of, ease in there because it's a troublesome time for them. Families are crushed. They're carrying this for years and years and years. So I would just say, listen, 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 talk a little, give feedback, but just reflective listening. Let them know that you are here to hear them.
Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest one. And then, of course, if they ask questions, then you proceed with caution, but to let them know this is their stage and we're just here to support them in their time of sorrow.
You've been called to ministry, and you have served in ministry for a lengthy period of time. The call to chaplaincy ministry is, to me, a specialty within the context of ministry. How would you characterize your call to this specific season for yourself in terms of the training that you're experiencing and getting for chaplaincy ministry? And what has that journey been like for you? What have you experienced? What have you discovered?
I call chaplaincy ministry outside the church walls. And for me, it began as a correction officer. Um, I was more rehabilitation than detention. Mine was, what can I do to help these young men to understand their worth so that it wasn't just about the more folk you get in, it's more security in terms of overtime. Because a lot of my coworkers, hey, just let them keep coming in because that's more security for me. I couldn't see them that way because of how I was raised and to know God, raised in the church. I'm a fourth generation Seventh-day Adventist Christian. Uh, my mother struggled to send me and my sister to church school. So that tutelage had to count for something. I had to use that for something so that when I was a correction officer, that's where it all started for me. It was the inmates. I was there to help the inmates, but the Lord allowed the inmates to help me.
Wow.
Because there were things in my character that I thought I had it going on. I thought that, Lord, I'm just waiting for you to crack the clouds. I can speak the Adventist language, card carrying Adventist, carrying the Adventist MasterCard. I'm waiting for the Lord to come.
Yeah. Yeah.
But there were holes and blind spots in my character
Mm.
that He allowed me to have my Damascus experience. And my Damascus experience was being a correction officer.
Mm.
The challenges that I went through with my coworkers when they saw that I was trying to make a difference in the lives of the inmates, even teaching them the proper Bible stories that they ask upon request. I first tried to run away from it and deny it like Jonah did, but the Lord kept allowing scenarios to happen to say, David, I brought you here. This is your Damascus. And once I realized that through other inmates that told me this, I stopped to listen and to say, Lord, I don't want to be a Jonah. I want to listen and I want to do what you would have me to do. And I believe the Lord brought me at a time such as this into the chaplain field, to not only as a pastor to reach those within the church walls, but He wants me to reach those outside of the church walls because of the ministry He's given me in oratory and singing and whatnot. He has opened that a lane for me to reach the unchurched. And I quite like it better than even, just pastoral inside the church, because sometimes inside the church, these are folk that feel like they got it all going on and they just need you to just remind them on certain things, but, they're on their way to heaven. But because I had such a Damascus experience, I want to be the cog of those who have realized that they have more work to do.
Mm.
And what can I do because I got more work to do? What can I do to help them?
Yeah.
So it was more of a Damascus experience that the Lord allowed me to go through to want to help those outside the church wall.
Yeah. Wow. That's powerful indeed. And just a follow up to that is that as a youth minister, someone who's worked with young people, and then your work as a youth minister juxtaposed with your work as a corrections officer, where you saw a lot of youth
Yes.
in facilities.
Yes.
What would you, and let me contextualize this a little bit more before I ask the question. So we also hear about declining enrollment in churches and participation in churches, and we hear about that being profound in some areas as far as young people are concerned.
Mm-hmm.
And those churches, of course, appear to some to be dying as a consequence of that, because without that life blood flowing through it, which is that next generation, then the potential to die exists. What is your approach to youth ministry generally as a faith leader?
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's great questions. You got to listen to them. Listen, meet them where they are. Listen to the things that, ask them what they would like to do. Get into their world. And even if you come across as corny, they like the fact that you tried. Sometimes I try to speak their language and put it in context to what I'm going through, and they'll laugh and even calling me Unc. I'm about to be 56, but to be called Unc, I'm so used to calling those older than me Unc,
Right.
but then they're calling me Unc.
Mm.
And it becomes sort of like a play between me and them.
Mm.
They laugh at you, but they're almost laughing with you because they see that you're trying to understand their language. And I found traveling the country, speaking at different churches and talking with the youth, they just want to know that you are listening to them.
Mm.
And I think that's almost a basic human need, is to know that I'm being heard.
Mm.
Even if you don't agree with me, just to know
Mm.
that I'm being heard, that I matter, that I am being seen.
Mm.
And I think that happens with the young people, that when they feel many times that the adults are ignoring them or don't have enough time for them or that they don't matter. And if we just show that what they do matter, it matters to us, they're important to us, I think that it would start to make a difference in our churches. If we plan even programs around the interests of our young people, but always leading them to the Savior. That should always be the goal. But there's many ways to do it. The Lord, through His Holy Spirit, has given us creativity, and we all have it. And we could ask the Holy Spirit, give me more creativity, how to reach these young people. But when they find that the emphasis is on them and we're concerned with them and what they're concerned about, that's when we turn the corner.
You are known for your renditions of the speeches of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Of course, January is coming up once again. His birthday's on the 15th. I believe the holiday this year is on the 20th. And we, of course, are once again faced with this forward movement towards acknowledging a person who I believe is one of the top 10 people to ever live before. But first, I want to ask you, what drew you to his legacy in terms of your investment in developing this presentation?
$1 million question. Wow. Thank you for asking. Wow. It was my great grandmother. My great grandmother was the daughter of a Tennessee slave, or should I say enslaved person, as they say today. His name was Frank Williams, born in 1857. My great grandmother helped to raise me along with my mother, my aunt, and they were the crux of my village. My father wasn't in the home. He was a Vietnam veteran. He wasn't in the home. So it was my mother, my great grandmother, my aunt, my um, Vietnam uncle, and also another alcoholic uncle, along with my cousins and pastors and elders, deacons, deaconesses. These were my villages. But my great grandmother would tell me stories. She would show me the cuts in her hands from picking cotton.
Mm.
And then she would sit in a rocking chair and she would take not a toothpick, but a safety pin and pick her teeth. And I used to think at age 5, that's they don't make them like that. That's Tennessee made. She my her they hoboed up to St. Louis from Brownsville, Tennessee, and that's how we were from St. Louis.
Mm.
And so she would sit down and sing a lot of the spirituals. And
Mm.
she would pull me to her at age 4 and 5 and
Mm.
say, David, do you know what these spirituals mean?
Mm.
And I would say, no, mama. And she would sing them
Mm.
in a certain sequence that would tell a story of an
Mm.
enslaved person trying to run away from the plantation. But she
Mm.
would do it in song. And my job was to decode the spirituals.
Mm.
And so she would take me, as it were, tell me stories that her father would tell her. So I'm getting them, right off, uh, right hot off the grill. Not something that you can find in the history books. This is,
Mm.
and with our people, oral traditions. And she would tell me these stories, and it would go basically from plantation all the way to the promised land. On
Mm.
Sabbaths after church, she was a
Mm.
deaconess in the church. She would play Dr. King's records. Now, this was maybe 5 years after his death. So I'm a young boy, and I would listen. And she would say, David, if you love me, you'll learn these speeches.
Wow.
And I was afraid of his voice, Brother
Mm.
Kenny, because
Mm.
that baritone,
Mm.
fiery voice. As a
Mm.
little boy, it always seemed to be raining whenever she played the
Mm.
album. So I would
Mm.
equate his voice with thunder and lightning.
Mm.
So she told me that if I loved her, learn the speeches, and I loved her. So
Mm.
my task was to sit in front of those long, remember the long stereos, the
Yeah.
really long, that look like coffins?
Yeah.
Well, I would sit next to the speaker and I would listen and
Mm.
listen to the cadences.
Mm.
And because I was musical, his words became sort of like lyrics, and the musical cadences. I would put it together,
Mm.
and I saw his words in my mind, and it was easy for me to memorize most of his speeches word
Mm.
for word because of that musical element. But I did it to please my great grandmother.
Wow. I see why it was the $1 million question, because not only were you able to share the backstory, but also give honor to
Yes,
someone who has such a strong place in your life and such
yes,
a significant impact in your life. And as you said, was able to share the oral tradition and
yes.
pass that story down and
Mhm.
those stories down, and then offer you the challenge of learning for yourself. Now, I said I was going to ask you to just give us a little taste. I won't take the whole interview time, but if you just give us
Yes.
a little taste of something, start somewhere, end somewhere. I know
Okay.
you can do it. It's on
Yes.
you.
Okay. Um, the greatest challenge that we face is to be ready to enter these doors when they open. Ralph Waldo Emerson said in a lecture back in 1871, if a man can write a better book, preach a better sermon, or make a better mousetrap than his neighbor, even as he builds his house in the wood, the world will make a beaten path to his door. And this will become increasingly true, so that means we're going to have to work hard. We're going to have to learn to burn the midnight oil sometime, take advantages of new opportunities. We must not seek merely to do a good Negro job if you are setting out to be merely a good Negro doctor, a good Negro lawyer, a good Negro preacher, a good Negro teacher, a good Negro barber, a good Negro skilled labor, a good Negro beautician. Then you've already flunked your matriculation exam for entrance into the University of Integration. We must get ready. And there's more to that, but I
Yeah.
wanted to kind of just stop right there. That was from um, his speech, "Be the best of whatever you are."
I'm telling you, brother, I've heard you deliver in the past. I've been in the audience. If someone would just simply close their eyes, they would just be taken back decades to Dr.
Mm,
King's speeches in person, because you bring it to life. You do it in a way that honors his legacy. And I'm grateful for that gift. David is available. In fact, folks, as we talk now, he's available to come and, break bread with you and fellowship and speak. And so we'll let him know. I'll let you all know how you can connect him. But I know some of you are just tuning in and you're on the radio and you say, wait a minute, why are they playing Dr. King's speech? It's not until January of next year. That's David Anthony Johnson, folks. And he's my special guest today. He's a chaplain, a native of St. Louis. I'm a proud New Yorker, so I'm always
I
repping New
knew it.
York. You're a proud St. Louis person.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Tell me a little bit about what that legacy means to you.
Well, I do know that you're a proud Yankees fan, and you have your baseball team is the most successful, but ours is second to you guys.
That's
In
right.
history, in history. But and I've been seeing your posts and stuff. And you went to the World Series, and that was wow, what an experience that must have been.
It's amazing.
Yes, I am proud to be from St. Louis. To be, I don't know. It's just that show me state type of feeling we all have. I know you know so many St. Louisans, including Dwayne Hamilton and so on and so forth, who played a very integral role in my life. With his ministry. Uh, I guess it's being the hub, the northernmost, uh, I guess the southernmost northern city.
Mm,
Many of those from the South, my father's side from Mississippi, my mother's side from Tennessee, many of the Southerners, St. Louis was the first northern city that's closest to the South.
mm,
Thus it's a Midwestern city. So we
mm,
kind of had a lot of Southerners in a Midwestern city,
mm,
and I guess we had the best of both worlds. We were a northern city, Midwestern city, but we had a southern spice to it, if you will. And so the foods, growing up with the soul food, and not cornbread, but cone bread, and the black eyed peas, and whether the chickenettes, turkeys, or the turkey, have it your way. We had a lot of the southern sauce on the Midwestern city, and being close to Chicago, we're like a little brother to Chicago, although we St. Louisans don't like to hear that. And being in between Kansas City and Chicago, I think we were in a great spot right there in the Midwest. So it was good growing up in the Midwest, being a baseball town, being a Cardinal town. So many of us we were very versed on our baseball, and so it was great growing up there. But what I loved about it too, we were very woke, especially in the Black community. And
mm,
that's what I love the most. And when I do my travels and whatnot, except for the East Coast and the South, but going more west, you really appreciate that awareness, the ability to be woke, the history of your people.
mm.
Coming from the Midwest, you kind of miss that
Yeah.
sense, that village that you have when you go to the East Coast, when you go to the South, when you go to the Midwest.
Mm,
It kind of gets lost in the West,
mm,
and so I appreciate spending 35 years in Los Angeles. I just moved up to the Seattle area in September. But what I've learned to appreciate about being from St. Louis was things that we had growing up in Christian school there was something you had to teach a lot of folk, going more west. We had it, it was just normal growing up. It was a part of our curriculum, knowing who you were, knowing about, who invented this, the black inventors, things that we use each and every day. And we learned those things, and not just on the Christian side, but we had it in our neighborhoods. We had it in our public schools. We had it, the Annie Malone parade. We were always woke to who we
mm,
were as a people.
mm,
And, whether Chicago people would come down or we would go up, we always did things together to
mm,
celebrate our heritage. And that to me was the biggest thing about growing up in St. Louis was the ability to know who you were and to be proud of it.
Well, I'm gonna tell you, you and I both know Bryant Thomas, and I defer to I used to be back in the day a big roller skater.
Okay, all right.
But I defer to anybody who hits the floor from St. Louis. You guys are the baddest roller skaters on the planet.
Yes, we do.
And we can start whatever energy we want to start, folks, by my saying that. But you're not touching those folks from St. Louis. I mean, right here, Rainbow and Carousel, where I used to skate here in Huntsville, somebody would hit the floor and they'd be moving in a certain kind of way. I said, wait a minute, that person has to be from St. Louis. Or there'd be a crew on the floor. I say, oh, wait a minute. No. That's a St. Louis strut right there. It has to be. So y'all have the best skaters in the world. And listen, brother, I'm so honored to have had this conversation. The first of many, I hope that will happen in the future as you continue to move through your career. He's David Anthony Johnson. He's a chaplain, and he has shared tremendous information with us. I want to give you one final thing to do for us today as people move into 2025 with the blessing that might be afforded to them on December 31st as they move into January 1st. Just give me a summary statement for people that they might hold on to as they make that transition.
Well, I would say 1 John 4:20 and 21, my favorite. And I found that many people struggle with that. If we say we love God, we have not seen him, but we hate our brother, we are liars. If we love God, we have to love our brother because our brothers and our sisters are extensions of God. And whether it's in the chaplain space, pastoral space, I've seen, or whether it's in the churches, whatnot, I have seen that this is something that trips up many, that we got to love each other. That's a part of this relationship we have with God. Because if we don't, what is that? John calls us a liar. So my biggest concern going into 2025 is how can I prove I love God? How? By loving my brother. That to me is one of the biggest things. I got to love my brother if I want to prove that I love my Savior.
An awesome charge, an awesome challenge as we move into 2025 here in just a few days. David Anthony Johnson, thank you for joining us. If people want to connect with you, you have a social media presence, website, or something else, how would people connect with you?
They can connect with me on Facebook under D John, D as in David, John for Johnson, John, D John 314. That's the St. Louis area code. And then also YouTube will be the same. Also, it would be the same with Instagram. And my website, it's under construction right now, should be available maybe in about a week or two. It would be davidanthonyjohnson.com.
We'll make sure we post that on our Second Chance page as well so that people can know exactly how to stay in touch with you. It's not fair for us to just be able to stay in touch with you. We need other people to stay in touch with you as well.
Yes.
So, brother, it's good to have you, good to see you, and look forward to seeing you in the new year by God's grace.
Thank you, and you keep doing great things, and thank you for having me.
Thanks, brother. I appreciate you, man.
All right, take care of yourself.
Absolutely. I'm going to come back in just a moment and tell you guys about next week. I'm Kenny Anderson, and we hope that you are enjoying our show this afternoon.
Perhaps you have some ideas, comments, or suggestions that you would like to share. Or perhaps you'd like to be a guest on the broadcast. We'd love to hear from you. Please feel free to email Kenny Anderson at mxlife@aol.com, or you can like us on the Second Chance Facebook page. That's 2ND Chance. And now, back to more of Second Chance with Kenny Anderson.
I want to say thank you for joining us this afternoon. I'm grateful, I truly am, that you have chosen to join us today. And of course, we look forward to a wonderful experience coming up in the new year as we start a brand new series. First of all, we want to start by thanking Adam Hawley for joining us today, David Trofort for joining us today, Richard and Renda Horne for joining us today, and David Anthony Johnson. We have included information about contact in the feed, so we hope that you'll reach out to these individuals as we make the transition to 2025. We know that by doing so, your lives will be enriched as a result of that. On next Sunday, we start a brand new year, January the 5th, already. My goodness, 5 days deep into the year next Sunday. And we will start out with a What's Going On segment featuring commentary from David Person, Stephen Foster, and Dr. Sidney Freeman. You don't want to miss it. There's a lot happening in the world today, and it's our chance to break things down for you as we provide insight and perspective into the hottest topics that are going on in life today. In the meantime, have a great rest of the week. In a few days from now, a brand new year starts. Once again, remember, there's just 24 hours that exist between December 31st and January 1st. You can start today by determining what your 2025, by the grace of God, will be like, and we hope to see you on the other side. Have a great afternoon, and as always, knowledge is better than riches. Good day.
Thank you for tuning in to Second Chance. We hope that the information that was shared has been a blessing to you and that your life will be enriched as a result of it. We'd love to hear from you, so please send your email comments to Kenneth Anderson at mxlife@aol.com. That's mxlife@aol.com. And check out our Facebook page, 2ND Chance. That's 2ND Chance. In the meantime, have a great week, and we'll talk to you again next week. Good day.